On today's episode of Xperience Unplugged, I'm going to be talking about critical illness insurance. I'm going to cover who the ideal client profile is, what points to make sure that you cover during the conversation, how to open up the conversation, and most importantly, why today is the best time and the best opportunity for you to be talking to your clients about critical illness insurance. So stay tuned. Xperience Unplugged is my opportunity to talk to you during our marketing campaign periods when we are focusing on 2 or 3 products or concepts about scripting, ideal client profiles, tools and resources that are available to you to help you grow that part of your market, to help hone your skills and hopefully maybe even open up new markets and new opportunities for you. These strategies have been proven successful, not by myself. I'm taking the experience of thousands of agents that I've been fortunate enough to work with over the years and compiling them into short podcasts so that you can get bite-sized information focused on specific products or concepts that you can target in your marketing initiatives. Again, these are going to be 90-day periods where we're going to be focusing on 2 to 3 products or concepts so that you can master those opportunities during that period of time. I look forward to you attending as many sessions as possible. Be sure to tune in regularly to update your skills, your knowledge, and your experience. This is Xperience Unplugged with me, Shawn Redford. So in today's episode of Xperience Unplugged, I'm talking about critical illness insurance. The first thing I'd like to open with is this really is the best time for you to be opening up this conversation with your clients. You have to understand that this product has been around in Canada and the US for over 30 years, yet the penetration in the market is abysmal. The average client has never even heard of critical illness insurance. I think the numbers range at somewhere between 10 and 12% in North America in terms of the uptake, the number of individuals who actually own individual critical illness insurance policies. It's pathetic. And I think, shame on us for not doing a better job talking about this product. Now, shame on the industry for doing a horrible job at teaching us how to position this product in front of clients. So what I'm going to do today is share with you some of the ideas that I've learned over the years from experienced individuals who've had tremendous success, experts, gurus in the living benefit space, specifically critical illness insurance. So why don't we get started with how do you even identify who to talk to? Who are the ideal client profiles for critical illness insurance? Well, a LIMRA study several years ago, and I haven't unfortunately seen one since, identified that the number one prospect for critical illness insurance is a single female healthcare worker. Interesting. And if you really think about it, and I would even ask your clients who they believe would be the most likely individual to believe in a product that protects individuals in the event of a health concern, a major or serious health concern or diagnosis. So why a healthcare practitioner? I'm sure you're already thinking about it. They see it every day. They see that it doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter how much money you make or where you live or the color of your skin or how famous you are. Anybody can get diagnosed with a serious illness like cancer, heart attack, stroke, Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis. I'm sure many of you can identify famous individuals, family members, or friends that have unfortunately had to deal with these diagnoses. So it's not something that's a surprise for most people. What is a surprise is this incredibly valuable benefit that's available to them. So again, single healthcare practitioner, single female healthcare practitioner is the number one purchaser of this product. So let's dissect it. We've already talked about healthcare workers. Now, who are the healthcare workers you should be targeting in your book of business or in your centers of influence or your networks? Whether they're doctors, nurses, physiotherapists, massage therapists, osteopaths, all of these individuals deal with people during their recovery from a critical illness. Now, let's extrapolate it. Single and female. Single individuals, it makes a lot of sense. Who's going to take care of them in the event of a diagnosis? Who's going to be there to drive them to their chemotherapy treatments or radiation treatments? Who's going to help get them to clinics, therapists, etc., while they're dealing with their recovery? Usually they're going to need somebody by their side, whether it's their spouse, a parent, a child, or maybe it's a sibling who lives out of state or out of province that they're going to fly in. Somebody to help them through this recovery. That's why single individuals are key ideal client profiles for you to address. And then the last one is females. Well, why females? Well, let's face it, ladies and gents, women are smarter. They're also more risk averse. Men have this large ego, thinking that it's probably not going to happen to me, it's going to happen to somebody else. We all know that that's not true. Women are more inclined to listen, agree, and consider tools that will help them through the recovery, especially when they're the caregivers. They're the typical traditional caregiver in a family dynamic. So for them, it's even more important to make sure that the resources are there in order to help them with their recovery. Now, take it a step further. Your younger clients, the ones that don't have any dependents yet, maybe they have, rent or even a mortgage and some other indebtedness. Do they want to go back to mom and dad after having just moved out and found their independence because they've been diagnosed with an illness? Probably not. It's cheaper the younger you are. Obviously, the more healthy you are, this product is more likely to be approved than those who are struggling with health issues. That's one of the common objections we've heard in the industry as to why agents are not selling more critical illness insurance. It's one of two things. Either it's too hard to underwrite, nobody qualifies for it because everybody I talk to is sick or has some family history. That's not true. This industry has changed a lot in the last 5-10 years. There are now guaranteed issue products, simplified issue products, and even other alternatives to a traditional critical illness insurance product to consider. Some companies are just more lenient than others too. And that's hopefully where we can come in and help direct you to what is the best product for your particular market. But I said earlier too, that there are other product solutions that could fit in terms of that critical illness benefit being paid if somebody wouldn't necessarily qualify for the product. And for some of you who deal in the universal life insurance market, whether in Canada or the US, you know that that's true because the account value or cash surrender value of these insurance policies can be paid out as a tax-free benefit to individuals who are suffering from a critical illness so that they can use those proceeds to help them in their recovery. So there's lots of options available in the market today. The other objection that we often get is it's too expensive. And to quote my good friend Keith Leach, who's been my guru as when it comes to critical illness insurance, he says the price is the price because it's the right price. The reality is it's more expensive than 10-year term insurance because the likelihood of you claiming on this product is substantially greater than it is that you would pass away. I mean, for a 10-year term life insurance product, the probability of you actually having a claim on that is 3 to 7%. So much greater chances when by the age of 65 in both Canada and the US, they're saying there's a 50-50 chance that you will be diagnosed with a critical illness insurance or critical illness need. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is how do you open up the conversation? I mean, there's a number of ways to do it. And in one of the next episodes, I'll talk about another strategy specifically. But today I want to talk to you really about what my favorite has been specifically for critical illness insurance. And that is a simple 4-question conversation. The first question is very simple. Do you know anybody who has suffered from cancer or heart attack or a stroke? Do not use the words critical illness insurance when you're talking to individuals. They don't know what it means or what it is, or more importantly, it sounds pretty serious, critical illness. When we hear about a car crash having people in critical condition, I mean, that sounds like they're imminently going to die. We don't want people to be misunderstood or misled as to what this product is. Now, understand that this only does pay out for life-threatening illnesses. But that's a little too complicated to get into with your client at first blush. So just start the conversation with that first simple question. Do you know anybody who has suffered from a heart attack, cancer, or stroke? And then be quiet and let them tell the story. because in doing so, they're going to start to relive that experience. They're going to have emotions come up relating to what was going on in that person's life and how they felt about what that person was going through at that time. Those emotions are what is likely going to drive their own interest in this product themselves. The second question to ask is, did they expect it? Were they prepared for this diagnosis? Now, of course, they're not going to say that they did expect it, and chances are they weren't prepared for it unless they owned critical illness insurance, in which case the sale's probably already made because you're going to hear the story of how they use the funds. That's not likely to be the case. So, what they're going to say is no, they didn't expect to get sick. Well, by asking that question, you are already overcoming the objection. It's not going to happen to me. I'm going to stay healthy. I'm healthy today. Nobody in my family has ever suffered from cancer. Isn't that what they probably thought as well? So it gets to the root of that objection right away and eliminates it. The third question is, how were they emotionally or financially impacted by that diagnosis? They themselves, or maybe even their business, if they're business owners, how were they or their business affected both emotionally and financially by that diagnosis? And again, all the while, you are being quiet. You are letting them tell the story. Now, what you may be asking yourself, if you're perhaps a younger individual and you haven't had many experiences with people, your loved ones, friends, being affected by an illness such as cancer, heart attack, stroke, find a story. There are countless articles you can Google that talk about how families were impacted as a result of a life threatening illness, or talk to your colleagues. Talk, and once you start talking to your clients, you'll be able to share those stories with your future prospects. Share the stories because the stories are what sell this product. It's a very emotional buy for the individual because it's really hard to relate to an illness themselves when they've never been sick. You have to put them in that person's shoes and get them feeling and thinking like that individual during that very difficult time. And then finally, the fourth question to ask is, how could cash have helped? What would they have used the money for if they had the luxury to have been given a tax-free benefit of $25,000, $50,000, $100,000, whatever the number is, it doesn't matter. How would they have used it? How do you think they would have used it? And I'm going to come back to this in a minute because it's really important for you to help the client understand that this is just money that was given to them for them to use however they see fit in order for them to best recover from this illness and this diagnosis in the way that they want to, on their terms, with their own choices and their own options. Now, I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Before I do, I want to also address one thing. I think it's really important to let the client know that this was a product that was not created by the insurance industry. This was a product that was created by a doctor to allow them to deal with these financial and emotional hardships and help them eliminate this stress during their recovery period so that they could focus on getting well, not focus on taking care of the kids or income coming in, paying bills, appeasing creditors or employees of the company if it's a corporate setting. No, just focus on you. Dr. Marius Barnard was the brother of Dr. Barnard, who was the first surgeon to do open heart surgery in South Africa. And what Dr. Marius Barnard realized was that medical advances were outpacing the insurance industry, basically in a nutshell. And by that, what I mean is medical advances were keeping people alive. People that were supposed to die from that heart attack or that stroke were no longer dying. They were recovering, but they were recovering at a cost, both emotionally and financially. So he went to the insurance companies and said, hey, why don't we create an insurance product that helps these people through the recovery process? And thankfully he did, because I think if the insurance industry did it, we would have messed it up. We would have created it like a disability insurance product where individuals would have to constantly prove that they are still disabled, provide receipts and proof of the treatments, and continually have to go through the process over and over again. Whereas with critical illness insurance, the beauty of it is that once you have this definite diagnosis, and it's quite easy to determine, regardless of what the ailment is, whether or not you qualify for it. It's in the contract, and the industry has gone to clearer definitions and unified definitions across the industry for the most part. They're pretty darn close anyway, so that it's easy to identify when somebody qualifies. And then the proceeds are given to that individual, and now they have the choice, the independence, the freedom to deal with the recovery on their terms. So the third thing I want to talk to you about is attaching value to those proceeds. It's really important for you to understand that the client has never had to experience this before. So not having experienced it before, and certainly not knowing anybody who's been afflicted by such an ailment and then received critical illness insurance proceeds, they don't know how they can be used. So it's important for you to ask them how they would like to use it if they had the choice. Would they maybe help pay for career training because they can't go back to the job that they were working at before? Or maybe fly a spouse, or rather a sibling, in from out of state or out of province to help take care of the family or the kids while they're going through their recovery? Or maybe allow the spouse to take an unpaid leave of absence from their job to sit by the spouse's bedside while they're going through their recovery, drive them to the major center that they need to go to for their cancer or radiation treatments. Any of these things are going to be individual choices, and each of these individual choices is going to be more valuable to the person choosing it than whatever you believe they would want to use those proceeds for. So do not go into the meeting with your own assumption as to how they should use these monies. Let them decide. Now, you can give them options. You can give them ideas as to how other people have used it, but let them make the choice. Because as soon as they make that choice, they're going to need to have that money. They're going to want to have access to that money, and they're going to want to talk to you about it. Critical illness insurance does not need to be expensive. $25,000, $30,000, $50,000 of coverage would make an incredible difference in most people's lives. Because let's face it, I don't care if you're making $50,000 a year, $100,000, or $250,000 a year. Most people I've ever worked with are living paycheck to paycheck. So even those individuals making $250,000 a year, $25,000 to $50,000 would make a huge difference. We're talking months of mortgage payments, or topping up their income, especially if they're commissioned income or they've got incentive income that isn't covered by disability insurance, or heaven forbid, they don't have disability insurance for whatever reason. This at least could provide them with income resources during that difficult time of recovery. I hope this has been helpful for you. We've shared some scripting ideas. We've shared some ideal client profiles, and also some conversation starters to allow you to open up the dialogue. And remember, nobody else is talking to your clients about critical illness insurance. By doing so, you are creating a differentiating factor between you and any other insurance agent or financial advisor your client or prospect has ever spoken to before. And don't be ashamed if you've never brought it up with your client. You've been working together for 3 or 5 years. Just remind them of all the value you've provided them with up to that point, and say, listen, we've spent a lot of time building your wealth. Now it's really important for us to focus on risk management, protecting your wealth. So I'd like to open up a conversation with you about how we can do that. And then you can start the process into critical illness insurance. As I said, I hope this has been a valuable session for you. Make sure that you tune in to future episodes where we'll be sharing more ideas on scripting, ideal client profiles, and other great conversation starters to help you in your business. This is Xperience Unplugged with Shawn Redford. Thank you, and create a great day. I have another great video right here, so check it out. And remember, Xperience Financial Group is about real people, real ownership, and real change. Let us help you accelerate your growth.